Next up, we have Team Eco Nasi. Please help me welcome to the stage Olivia Awuor Okinyi, studying International Business Management at Africa Nazarene University. Olivia?
Thank you.
Good morning. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Fantastic. Judges are ready as well. Take the stage.
My name is Olivia Awuor, and I'm so humbled to be representing my team, Eco Nasi, and we're on a mission to redefine how leather is produced sustainably. And we're doing this by converting pineapple pulp waste into high-quality plant-based leather. So where did all this start? Exactly 4 years ago, I lost my uncle. He had worked in the leather industry for over 3 decades to lung cancer as a result of inhaling the toxic chemicals used during the leather tanning process. But I realized his case is not isolated. According to WHO, 90% of all leather tannery workers across the world won't live past the age of 50 as a result of inhaling toxic tanning chemicals. So how many leather tannery workers will continue to die before we say enough is enough? This is just the tip of the iceberg. Producing leather is costly and wasteful. 70% of hides are usually thrown away, only 30% gets treated. This industry is the 4th largest emitter of greenhouse gases and contributes to 18% of water pollution. Now this third fact will shock you. Did you know that to make one leather bag, you require 18,000 liters of water? Yet, in the world today, 2 billion people still lack access to clean water. This is completely unacceptable. But despite all these problems, people still love leather. Cattle populations are increasing with human populations at 3% per year, while demand for global leather goods is increasing at a rate of 7% per year. So desire and demand are not going anywhere, neither are the problems. This is an opportunity. But I know what you're thinking. What about all these existing solutions that are trying to solve this problem? Let's address that. Synthetic leather by far is the most common solution, but it contains fossil-based PU and PVC, which are not beneficial to the environment, while vegetable tanning is limited in scope and is not scalable. At Eco Nasi, we have an amazing solution that comes from nature. We convert pineapple pulp waste into high-quality plant-based leather that reduces water use by 97%, carbon emissions by 95%, and completely eliminates toxic waste. Our proprietary solution is based on bacteria, cellulose found in pineapple pulp waste, and plant collagen. So to truly make a sustainable material, we took inspiration from the original, which is hide leather. So we studied hide leather under the microscope to truly understand what gives it its functional properties. And protein collagen is responsible for leather's quality and strength. So we took this approach in designing our material. So we asked ourselves, what if we can design a truly sustainable material by taking the best plant profiles, molecule by molecule? And we did it. This is our material under the microscope, and as you can see from the image, it mimics leather's close linking structure. To make our product, we are tapping into the over 80 million tons of underutilized pineapple pulp waste produced in Kenya annually. 65% of this fruit is usually wasted during processing and thrown away, releasing harmful methane gases and providing a breeding ground for dangerous diseases like typhoid and cholera. And currently, less than 1% is being utilized, meaning there's enough waste to meet demand 100 times over. Our material is durable, it holds up to industrial sewing, it can be customized into different colors, textures, and patterns, and it can also be engineered into different thicknesses and densities. And this is not possible with a cow. You cannot grow a cow to achieve a hide of any size and shape, but with our material, this is possible. These are some of the product prototypes we have been able to create, and they'll be passed to you in a few minutes, which ranges from backpacks, toiletry bags, watch straps, and notebook sleeves. Like any other entrepreneurial journey, ours has been with its own form of challenges, from the first prototype that we created to the first MVP. The material you see in front of you is not perfect, but it's a step towards the right direction. So when we started, we first thought that we could build a 100% bio-based material with the help of self-coloring bacteria, but we realized that we still need to do more R&D, and therefore we need a complementary dyeing and coating process moving forward. So the coating process that we used at first did not give us the functional properties that we desired, but I'm so proud to announce that we have a partnership with BASF Global, which is one of the leading sustainable chemistry companies in the world, and they'll be sending to us some sustainable coatings and colors to try out. Our closed-loop process is hinged on principles of circular economy. So any waste material produced during the production process is converted into organic fertilizer, which is given back to the farmers. And this material can be recycled up to 4 times before reaching its end life. And once it reaches its end life, it can naturally disintegrate into the soil without causing any harmful chemicals. So we are positioning ourselves as a hybrid of a B2B, B2C brand, and we are targeting the premium leather handbag segment of the market. And this is because they have the funds and incentives to use novel materials like ours. And by 2030, 90% of all leather goods sold worldwide will be animal-free, and we believe we are well positioned for that disruption. Now, our process is scalable. Compared to the 3 months it takes to make other plant-based materials, our process only takes 5 days. And with a licensing model, we can further scale this while protecting our core IP. Now, we are going to compete with synthetic leather, hide leather, and other plant-based alternatives. But what makes us stand out is the use of cellulose and plant collagen, which gives our material the molecular structure to behave like skin, and our process makes our materials slightly cheaper than other alternatives in the market. So we produce a meter of our material at $16. We generate a margin of 47% per meter, and we are aiming for over $100,000 in revenue by 2027. In just 12 months, we have been able to make great progress, including validating our concept, developing our product. We've engaged over 20 fashion brands in Kenya, and we have generated to date a revenue of $10,000 in initial sample sales. The next step for us moving forward is to finalize on our patent, aim for pilot production by 2026. Moving forward, we are aiming for commercial scale production, and by 2028, we want to venture into other industries like footwear manufacturing and automotive industries. So far, we have been able to recycle 1,000+ tons of waste. We've worked with over 50 women in Kenya, and we have a pipeline of 10 farmers across our supply chain who are also supplying us with this waste. So if we manage to capture just 10% of our beachhead market, we will save 95,500 tons of CO2 per year, which is significant. And along our journey, we've been so fortunate to win quite a number of awards from United Nations, Young Global Changes Award in Germany, Harrisburg University here in the US, and this year we were invited to exhibit at one of the largest sustainability events in Paris. Building this solution is a passionate team. We have experience from leather science, biochemistry, industrial chemistry, and we have a board of mentors and advisors with over 65 years experience building sustainable materials. And we are backed by some of the notable companies in circular economies like Kenya Climate Innovation Center and Uvu Bio Africa, which is one of the largest biotechnology labs in Africa. So with the $30,000 Wege Prize Award, this award will be crucial to help us scale. So we will finalize on some aspects of our R&D, finalize on patents and global certifications like PETA, and it will also help us to upgrade our commercial facility and purchase some of the machineries that we need, like a hydraulic press and an embossing machine. So I started this journey because I lost someone to an industry that took more than it gave. But I believe with our solution, we can create a world where leather heals the planet rather than damaging it. Thank you.
Olivia, great work, and Team Eco Nasi, congratulations.
Thank
great
you.
presentation. Will the judges chat for a few minutes? We'll
Yeah.
chat for a few minutes, and then you'll do Q&A.
Yeah.
Good. Well, so I read that you have a farm. Can you tell us about that?
Sorry?
A farm?
A farm?
That's what in your bio? Or in the, maybe not, that's all right, we'll keep going. The wrong clue there. All right, well tell us more about your team. How did you get together? How did you connect?
So back at home in Kenya, I'm part of so many entrepreneurship associations and clubs. So in one of these entrepreneurship competitions and meetings, I ended up meeting some of my team members, because when I first started Eco Nasi, I was alone, but I needed a team to further build the idea. So we met at one of the biology conferences. So that's how we were able to connect and just sort of build this whole idea together.
It's brilliant, really, it's
Thank
brilliant.
you.
I loved hearing that the material is actually considerably more durable even than leather.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how did that come about? How did you and your team design that and realize it?
So like I mentioned, we looked at the original and we wanted to create something almost similar but more sustainable. So we started doing more research. We started doing more lab prototypes and just building those profiles molecule by molecule. So like I mentioned, the material is not perfect, but it's a step towards the right direction. So we are still iterating, innovating, and building.
I love it.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you.
Fantastic. A lot of passion and tenacity.
Yeah.
I'm sure your family is proud as well, doing that in honor of your family too.
Yeah, definitely.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Good. All right. Well, the judges are ready for you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you very much for your presentation. It's fantastic to see your innovation and work. I have a couple questions for you. The first one is, in terms of developing alternative leathers, there are a few great examples of companies that are now popping up in the space.
Yeah.
In terms of the two that I can see that are related to your technology, I'm curious of what you've learned from existing companies that are there. Specifically, ones that I see are related are Pinatex from Anas Anan. They do pineapple-based leathers. And then the other one, based on your kind of technology or how you're leveraging it, would be Modern Synthesis that uses bacterial synthesis for creating alternative leathers. So I'm curious of how your core technology sits via others that are developing alternative leathers and what you've learned from them or how it's different. So that's number one. And then a follow-up there is specifically, why did you choose pineapple for bacterial cellulose fermentation, given that bacterial cellulose can thrive on lots of different types of sugars?
Okay. So thank you so much for your question. So to answer your first question on where our technology sits and what we are learning from other brands that have gone before us. So in terms of technology, our closest, the closest company that is doing something similar to us in terms of the raw material is Pinatex. And what we've been able to learn from all these companies is that when you're building your technology, it has to be scalable, because that's the only way you can make an impact. And then there is also the aspect of collaboration. So you have to collaborate with different cooperatives. If you're dealing with farmers, you have to collaborate with different industries and manufacturers to ensure that you're building something that can really scale and create an impact, as well as if you're positioning yourself as a B2B company, scalability as well is a great consideration for brands. So that has been the greatest learning.
And in terms of the why you chose pineapple waste for bacterial cellulose?
Okay, so the reason we chose pineapple pulp waste is because it has a very high cellulose content, which we consider as a natural biopolymer. So it's easier to use, and it just reduces the amount of chemicals and that we need in our process.
Can I just ask a quick follow-up there? So Piñatex uses the cellulose directly. What you're doing is breaking it into simple sugars so that bacteria can feed on it and then produce cellulose, which seems that you're doing an extra step in the process, given you already have cellulose in that the pineapple plant is made for you. Why are you breaking it down to then feed it to the bacteria? What's the choice there in terms of how you use it?
Okay, so the choice is so that we can be able to control different checkpoints in terms of how we want the material to behave and the final outcome. Yeah.
Thank you, that's helpful.
Yes, thank you. My question is regarding, again, it's coming back to pineapple, I love it. So I was looking at your picture, the diagram, the steps, and I can see the pulp. That's what you were talking about, the pulp, which comes from the skin of the fruit, and it has lots of sugar in it, and very little cellulose. The cellulose, the pineapple leaves are very high in cellulose content, and they are waste, just they are everywhere, and about 140 tons per hectare. And it's very easy to collect, it's right there, they are in the field, So again, using just the fruit peel, it's gonna be pretty tough, even to find them, collect them, when you have cellulose right there, So again, your economic feasibility of your study, you think will be much better, maybe if you use cellulose from the leaves.
So using cellulose from the leaves vis-a-vis the pulp, is that like your question, if I've understood well?
No, again, going back to, you have very little cellulose content in pineapple peels, which comes from the fruit, if I see your picture, And it's gonna be pretty tough. It's a hard process, costly process, like 2 steps or more involved. But still you choose to do that, instead of going to just cellulose directly from the leaves, which is a lot and very cheap and just everywhere. What are the reasons,
Okay, so we chose the pineapple pulp because it's readily available compared to the leaves, because for the leaves we'll have to do a lot of work, especially in like collecting, and especially like if we're looking at it at a large scale. And for some of these leaves, they're actually replanted. Like after the harvesting season, these leaves are usually replanted. So pineapple pulp was just an easier option to work with compared to the leaves.
Okay. Olivia, thank you for your presentation. And an industry that takes lives certainly takes more than it gives. My question is, do you foresee the creation of employment? In other words, would you be able to employ your uncle in the making of this product, should, if he was still alive?
Yes, definitely there's an aspect of employment right from the point of collecting this waste from markets and to the point of processing. So there's an aspect of employment. And yes, if my uncle was still alive, I will definitely employ him, because this is a process that doesn't use heavy and toxic metals and chemicals. So yes, definitely.
But would his skills from before be able to translate into what you're doing, or are you planning on creating training programs, or does that make sense?
Okay, yeah, I've understood your question. Yeah, so definitely a bit of skills training is required, but it's not very different from leather, because we are just taking inspiration from the original. So the process won't be too different.
Thank you.
Hi, Olivia. Welcome
Hi.
to the Wege Prize.
Thank you.
And I'd like to compliment you and your team on the excellent competitor analysis that you've done of all the different kinds of competitors you have. One of the things that struck me during the initial review, and a lot of the judges, was the innovation of being able to create your own colors for the.
Yeah.
So you've run into some technical difficulties, and you partnered with BASF. I learned today. Can you explain? I mean, it makes a lot of sense to work with a global provider, but
Yeah.
what did your team see in the sustainability and the circularity of the BASF product?
Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, when we first started and we were experimenting with the bacterial pigments, we realized that it was very patchy and it wasn't like spreading evenly throughout the material. So our analysis was that we still needed to do more R&D, but it's not something that is scalable as of right now. So that is why we reached out to BASF, which manufactures a lot of sustainable pigments and coatings, just to complement our dyeing and coating process. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Olivia. Great job, by the way. One of the things is, as you have created this new material, are you going to be selling it in your B2B strategy? Is that to the houses that will do upmarket in terms of their marketing? In other words, these prestige brands, will it end up in a Louis Vuitton house? Is it that because they're sold on leather? Those types of things. And while that might be very difficult, are you going to ask your B2B customers to sell it to the more, the higher price point, or to more the middle band of the market?
So please rephrase your question.
As your product that you make, and you talked about your B2B strategy, your business-to-business strategy, are you hoping that those customers will then sell to more the higher price point markets, or do you have a preference, or just more to mainstream market? What is your preference in that, and how you're going to position this in the market?
Okay, so mainly we're aiming for like the mainstream market. Yeah, not like the high end. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, judges. Thank you, Olivia. Great work. Good job. Thank you.